I think we have to start, we'll start with public comments. So I think we can call the meetings to order, Court.
Okay.
Yep, so I'll call to order the November 2nd Concord-Carlisle Regional School Committee to order.
And I will call the Concord Public Schools School Committee meeting to order. Note that we are being recorded, and tonight I will remember the roll call.
Alexa?
Oh, sorry. Geez, my kids are like screaming. I'm worried. Anyway, Anderson present.
Booth present.
About present, just in time.
Split into present.
Miss that present.
Mustafi present.
Rainey present.
Wilson present. And we will start with public comments. Don't see a lot of public here right now. No. Think we can move on to old business. That sound good?
Okay, good.
Our first agenda item is the discussion about MASC proposed the resolutions for the conference. And I think we'll treat this as a consent agenda. So we'll go through the list of them. And then if anybody has any that they want to call out to delve into deeper, please do so. And just
Sure.
a reminder that what we're discussing right now is to what extent we want to support MASC's board of directors in their advocacy for the proposed resolutions. We're not changing anything in our policies, in our practices, although some things may by default have a secondary, ramification on our practices, such as the diversity training. And
A question, if I might, about process, Sarah.
yep,
So consent calendar, meaning a process whereby we would pull out for discussion those that we are not inclined to favor the board acting on, i.e. the MASC board. Is it our thinking as a group that this would result in a vote for said proposals, or rather a straw poll as an advisory for our two delegates, knowing that there could well be amendments from the floor such that a specific vote on a specific proposal might not give them the confidence they need to act on our behalf without us on Saturday. Is that clear enough what I'm after?
yeah, and yeah, I think that we sort of discussed that at our last meeting. And so, yes, I don't think that we're going to vote on them per se, but to give guidance to the people who are voting on all of our behalfs, and for things that people do have any questions or concerns about, we delve into what those concerns may be, and possibly if there's an amendment, it may resolve the concerns. They'll have some kind of guidance of what our collective thinking is. Correct?
Thank you. And I will note that our previous vote on resolution 1 did result in an email from the council to the Committee on Education, a pretty pro forma response, and I'll share it next week. I don't think it's essential tonight.
Okay.
That came in today.
Okay. So we'll just go through. Can I get my computer all lined up? Okay. So the first one we've already discussed. Resolution 2, COVID state funding. Any interest? Does anyone want to pull that out to talk about? Nope. Okay. Resolution 3, the school committee anti-racism resolution. Questions? No. And I will note that Carlisle voted to endorse both 2 and 3 in June. Resolution 4, lowering the voting age for municipal elections, which I believe is sort of a Concord initiative to begin with.
And this was a town meeting vote in 2018, I believe, 2018, affirmative for a 17-year-old vote for local elections.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Anybody wants to pull that out? No. Resolution 5, supporting increased federal support and stimulus funding for public K through 12 education. Okay. 6, retention of Medicaid revenue.
Oh, I actually had a question on this. It doesn't take much discussion. We can do it after or quickly now. But if anybody watched the kind of practice round and information, I was just curious what they said about that one.
I don't think on the practice round they said a lot about any of them. It was only if you were a voting member and you went to the practice round and had a specific question
Okay.
about one, you could ask them.
Okay.
But I know that on Friday there were no questions
There were no questions.
asked. And I
About
don't
the mechanics of voting.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. And can I just ask a quick question on this one? I don't think it's to pull it up for a debate in support of it, but is everybody's understanding that the money they're asking to go into the schools is the Medicaid money that was to support the special needs of students is then coming back into the schools, right? Okay, good. Thank you. Just want to make sure I understood correctly. No need to pull it out.
Okay. Resolution 7, attempts by the U.S. Department of Education to direct funding to private schools. Eight, membership of a school committee member on the Board of Elementary and Second Education. 9, providing equity for sexual orientation, LGBTQ plus students, teachers, and staff. 10, relative to the monitoring of attendance of students during the pandemic. No? So we don't have any to pull out?
I do think it was wise that or fortunate, maybe I should say, that we had another week to study these. I think it means that we come at this with even more thorough consideration.
Okay. Great. So with that, we can just move on to the second old business.
Yeah, so should we just clarify, and
Yeah.
even if it's for anyone watching, that basically now kind of straw poll wise, we are all in favor of supporting all of these. And those of us, those representatives who are there representing us can use this general feel and make decisions on the fly if things are amended on our behalf.
I have a question following what I understand the sentiment is in terms of getting involved in the dealings of MASC and where we stand in Concord. Am I understanding correctly that, so I want to make sure that there's a distinction, are we supporting or are we abstaining, kind of approving but not really advocating at a state level? I just wanted to clarify that.
No, I think the concern is if we as a body vote to approve all these, I'll say, then when they are amended, are we in a box to vote no because it isn't the text that we approved? So we're absolutely, I think, endorsing the efforts of the board of directors of the MASC, but they don't, if it's, maybe a little more than a small amendment, but we perceive it as essentially still has the original intent, that we would, I think, obviously support it, rather than be concerned that because it was amended, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's just-
Right. If the intent is still generally the same, then we would expect that we all still support it.
Okay.
and I would trust, everyone who is attending, who's voting to, if you feel that it's deviating too far for your comfort level, to support it, if you're not sure that it's still in accordance with what you expect would be the sentiments of us. And I know that's a lot to expect, but I think you can tell if something, I find it unlikely C would amend something so far that they would leave the spirit of the original thing. But if that were to happen, then there's always the option to abstain from a vote.
Okay, got it.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for looking into them in such detail that we didn't have to spend a lot of time here. Much appreciated.
Okay. Then Court, I think if you could take us for a walk down policy.
Certainly. Okay, so we did have, thanks to Lori and Aaron, embedded right in the agenda, the proposed and the current. This is a first reading of policies for Concord and Concord-Carlisle. And we had a week and a half ago a text that shared the history of what the policy subcommittee then had done. The first one, BDFA-E-3, conduct of school council business. In essence, the change here is to try to make the expectation what we consider to be more realistic, and that is to achieve at least 6 meetings a year. Then secondly, to remove, I'm quoting now from that memo, remove the limitation of quote unquote after school hours from the text, so that if there were a council meeting during the school day where teachers and certainly parents, of course, could attend, that would be permissible. So we have in front of us the proposed. So our first reading is that proposed, and this was approved by, apparently, Lori, approved by MASC subsequent to our last meeting because, oh no, forgive me, I'm sorry. Approved by MASC in 2015. Let's see if I have the right one in front of me. So yeah, the proposed still has the old date on it, but the other changes should be, as I said, 6 times a year, and school hours would be acceptable. Discussion, comments, questions? Lori, input to help us? I think we're okay. Lori, you're muted.
I see. The policy used to say monthly, and just the pace of that was really a challenge for us with the elections at the beginning of the year and some short months, in December and such. So the 6, at least 6, gives us a little bit of wiggle room.
The security cameras is a new policy. And we've had various communications with the public about this at the time when we were discussing it. There are indeed several security cameras in our schools, and there are strict protocols as to who has access and when that access might be required, so that rights are protected, I think, thus far to everybody's complete satisfaction. But having those cameras and the legally required signage is not enough. There should be a policy that really spells out what we're doing. questions, comments on that one? That then takes us to student involvement in decision-making, one I think dear to all of us. The idea here was that upon review, we thought keep the current policy because it is nicely aligned with the current recommendation from MASC. However, we would add MASC as our source to this one, which was not in the one publicly available now on our website. Then student discipline, and this is an amendment of our current, were it to be accepted, because we did discover several differences, and specifically there would be the change as follows: replacing the existing policy to add a sentence under expulsion stating, quote, any student alleged to have committed one of these acts shall be afforded the same due process rights as for a long-term suspension. And we would take off the reference to source MASC because now there's a slight difference.
Court, having fresh eyes on that, I'd like to have our legal counsel just review that change we're proposing. This is a policy we need legal counsel to just be sure we've stayed within the boundaries of the law.
Got it. So noted. So this doesn't change the fact that it's the first reading, but by next week, you'll have an update for us.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Then we have the student dress code, and this is an adoption of the MASC current policy, and that's it. No changes. The JICF, gang activity secret societies. This one we spent a lot of time on because definitions of what a gang might be or a secret society for policy purposes was a little more problematic than we originally anticipated. So there is a change from current such that the second sentence would now read, quote, for purposes of this policy, gang is defined as any group, secret society, organization, or association that advocates tobacco, vaping, alcohol, drug use, violence, or disruptive or illegal behavior, and or intimidation on the basis of ethnicity, gender, identity, religious, and or political beliefs, unquote. And this too was unanimously approved by the policy subcommittee. The next one, JICFB, bullying prevention. And this one took a couple of sessions as well, with the replacement of fully 3 paragraphs in this with, and I'll read it in full, cyberbullying. This is the new language. Cyberbullying is bullying through the use of technology or electronic devices such as telephones, cell phones, photographs, computers, and the internet. It includes, but is not limited to, email, SMS, short message service, also known as text messages, instant messaging, various internet postings, social media, and online gaming. Cyberbullying shall also include the creation of a web page or blog in which the creator assumes the identity of another person, or the knowing impersonation of another person. Cyberbullying shall also include the distribution by electronic means of a communication to more than one person, or the posting of material on electronic medium that may be accessed by one or more persons if the distribution of posting creates any of the conditions of bullying, close quote. There were changes from him and herself to themselves and their within the policy, and a new cross-reference to student discipline, and a change from parents, quote unquote, to parents/guardians, quote unquote. Lori, sentiments about, or your sense about whether legal should weigh in?
I think if I'm gonna, yes, this is another highly legislated one, so let's have them look at both.
I was halfway through that reading when I realized that was obvious. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much. And the JIE policy, pregnant students, this would mean a replacement of the current with the MASC more current, and it would be adoption of their policy unchanged. And that's what you see in the proposed. So those are the policies that we had ready to go when life suddenly changed in early March. And so if indeed Michelle or her firm can look at these and render an opinion to Lori before November 10, we can bring them back then. If not, we'll pull these two out for another week. Questions, comments, concerns, clarifications? Okay. So this will be my near final act as a ex-member of that policy subcommittee, because we know that we've got three very capable people forming the group and getting ready to get that underway again. So Sarah, that's it.
I think so. I think with that, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. For both committees.
Seconded for both.
Anderson, I for both.
Booth, aye for both.
About I for both.
Ms. Dad, I for both.
Mustafi, I for region.
Rainey, I for both.
Wilson, I for region.
I think that's a record, guys. Well done.
Thank you, everyone, for great preparation and great everything.
I was too tired to have done it this quickly last week.
And it would have been obvious. I mean, we would have gone through it and it would have been obvious. I was just rushing. Everybody just wanted to leave the meeting. Just wanted to give it due diligence. And thank you guys for accommodating.
No, no problem. I think it was a good idea.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll see you all next Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, will do.
Good.
Good night.